Florida and numerous other states are banning fluoride in the drinking water. And RFK Jr. is looking at bans for fluoride as well, calling it a neurotoxin, especially dangerous for children. But that's quite the 180 from when the CDC called adding fluoride to drinking water one of the top 10 public health achievements of the 20th century. The simple fact is, whatever side of this argument you're on, fluoride reduces cavities by 25%. One study found that kids in non-fluorinated communities had twice as many cavities as those in fluorinated areas. Okay, but before you leave and say, this guy doesn't get it, it's all part of a conspiracy, I promise I have my own fluoride conspiracy at the end of this video. But first, let's look at some of the more ridiculous stuff and maybe why fluoride is good before we hit possible reasons why it's bad. First, the idea that somehow fluoride makes people more docile. The most obvious evidence that it isn't making us docile or some sort of mind control is how many people go on rants against fluoride in the drinking water. If it is supposed to make us easier to deal with, it sure as heck isn't doing a good job. I mean, just look at all the social upheaval out there in general. And to all my health friends out there saying, well, it's a chemical. Remember, it's not a synthesized chemical. It's a natural mineral. It's found in water and soil and even tea. It's just that in the 1940s, scientists realized that people in areas with slightly higher levels of natural fluoride in their water had fewer cavities. So we started adding a little bit of it, 0.7 milligrams per liter, to community water, and it has been extremely effective. Cavity rates have decreased dramatically, especially in rural areas. So it's not just people who have the money to go to the dentist that are having better dental health, it's everybody, reducing again cavities by about 25%. It's a lifesaver for the poor, especially where dental care is hard to get a hold of. Kids without it have more pain, more school absences, and more expensive visits to like emergency rooms and emergency dental care. And now you're going to see where my own conspiracy theory is starting to go. But first, what are the possible dangers of fluoride? Right? You're worried about safety. So let's talk the actual numbers. So the safe recommended level is 0.7 milligrams per liter. To get to the point where it's any kind of problem, and by problem, I mean staining your teeth, you have to double or triple that amount and apply it to your teeth. But you're probably not worried about that. You're like, what if my kids are drinking this? They're ingesting it. Serious health effects do not start to appear until you have 10 to 20 milligrams per liter or higher. So the recommended amount that we put in drinking water, 0.7. We have to hit 10 to 20 milligrams or higher before there's any kind of negative health, so drastically more. Now, there's no credible evidence of fluoride causing cancer, infertility, or IQ loss. These claims come from flawed, cherry-picked, high-dose studies. And we need to also remember that there are lots of things that we eat and drink that, if taken at higher doses, could be bad for us. Apple seeds, for example, have arsenic in them. There's lots of things that are extremely good for us that, if taken at too high amounts, can harm you. And you know this, like olive oil is really good for you, but a lot of it is still going to be very bad for your waistline. Okay, so we're about to get to my own conspiracy theory. But first, let's look at what Governor DeSantis said. He said that putting fluoride in water is like forcing people to take medication. It isn't force, it's just public health. We already accept things like chlorinating water to kill bacteria, iodizing salt to prevent thyroid disease, fortifying milk with vitamin D to prevent rickets. We spray for mosquitoes to prevent malaria and Zika. These aren't medical mandates. They're just us socially agreeing and using the best evidence that we have to try and help protect each other. When DeSantis bans fluoride, he's not making people freer. He's just taking away one of the cheapest, easiest ways to keep children healthy. The fact is that the people who will be hurt the most by this are the most vulnerable amongst us. Poor kids with no dental insurance, rural families without good access to care, and elderly people on fixed incomes. So here's the really cynical part, and maybe that's the point. You think fluoride maybe is about controlling minds or harming kids. I don't think it's that. But I do think it is more about control than you would think. Okay, follow me here. Oh, before I get to my theory, please subscribe. It's free, and it really helps. I'm a professional philosopher, and we live in crazy times. I'm trying to do the only thing that I can do to help. Use the tools of philosophy to help me look critically at the things people in power want us to just take for granted. So please do like and comment, even if you disagree. Share this video with people. It might help. This doesn't just help me, it could help make a difference. Okay, so my conspiracy theory. Look, when life gets harder, when you're stuck in survival mode, you're easier to control. History shows this over and over again. Like during the Black Death, when Europe was falling deeper into superstition, mysticism, and blind obedience. When people are struggling, they look for someone to save them and the promise that they can make it easier on them. In other words, they look to authoritarians. It's just Maslow's hierarchy. When people are worried about basic survival, they're less likely to be worrying about the stuff higher on the hierarchy, right? They're not going to be challenging power or asking tough questions. You don't have the time to ask why you're here, or if your beliefs make sense, or if your governmental system is the best one for you, if you're just trying to eat and survive or keep your kids healthy. So the fact that the most people who will be hit by this are also the most vulnerable, it will raise their healthcare costs, reduce their physical well-being, and make poorer families more desperate than they already are, in my conspiracy, it's a way to help create a population desperate for an authoritarian to save them. Or at the very least, it's for wealthy people like Ron DeSantis and RFK Jr. to make political points and more power for themselves at the expense of the people who already have the least voice in our society, the poor. They're already the least likely to vote. So while the middle class voters who can afford fluoride toothpaste and have the time for dental care can rest easy, feeling like RFK and Republicans are protecting them, the poor's health decreases. But they don't have the time to complain or to vote to make a change. So it's a win for the politicians who get to sit back and easily profit off of the harm done to the people who are most vulnerable. So what do you do about this? If they're taking fluoride out of your water, if you have the means, buy toothpaste with fluoride. Most brands still include it, but just in case, check the label. Use a fluoride mouth rinse, especially for children. Ask your dentist about fluoride varnish. It's a treatment that strengthens enamel. In other words, if they think that this is a real concern, if you're more prone to cavities, though RFK is kind of coming after that as well. And remember, your dental health is very, very, very connected to your health as a whole. Studies show that quitting cigarette smoking doesn't extend your life expectancy as much as flossing. So we're talking 5 years of more life if you quit cigarettes, 7 years more life if you floss. And it has to do with the way that bacteria in our mouth are connected to heart disease. All right. Thanks for watching. If this kind of deep dive interests you, check out my playlist. I put out a lot of videos on politics and current events. I also do some deep philosophical dives into fun and less depressing stuff like the MCU. Thanks so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.